Hey IQers, Jonathan Levinson here with your daily Excel tip. So in this session, we're going to talk about macros. I know macros, that sounds very complicated, and in its simplest form, it's actually fairly simple. So we're going to go through kind of just the basics of creating your own macro and why you would do that. So first thing that I think everyone should do is to get that developer ribbon. You to get there, you actually need to customize that ribbon. So you can right click on any one of these different tabs and click on customize the ribbon. You want to change the commands from all tabs. You can then drill down, find developer tools, and just go ahead and add that, hit OK, and you will now have a new developer ribbon. Okay. So I thought this was a great example. This right here is a commission summary from Hub Commissions, right? So employee tiered commissions. So I run this on a monthly basis, and I have to actually manipulate this data to bring it into a readable format, right? So typically, what I do is I'll create a pivot table. Well, that pivot table includes some calculations and other things, and it's something that is repeated all the time. So, how do you do that, right? So, imagine if you were looking at this spreadsheet right here, and what I really you'll see once I run this macro, right, it's going to do multiple actions all at once. So it's going to delete the first two lines. It's going to convert the data to a table. It's then going to create a pivot table and add specific calculated items. So you'll notice I don't have another tab here. I go ahead and run this. And what I get is a new summary tab with exactly the format that I need it to be. And then you'll also notice that I have some calculated items that have already been calculated for me. So again, why would I do this? Well, I need to run that report on a monthly basis, and then I need to get to this end result to pass it along to, let's say, payroll. So instead of me repeating those steps, right, I'll create a macro, I'll run the report, I'll export it, save, and I'll run that macro against that data. So really, really useful. Um, so what we'll do in the next step is we'll just walk through how we went about and did this in this way. So we want to start taking our steps, but we want to record the macro. So how do we do that? We head down to the very bottom of Excel. This is your macro button. So I'm going to go ahead and click the macro. It's then going to pop up and say, okay, it's time to record. What would you like to name this macro? So I'm going to call this test. I can also apply a shortcut key. So let's say I always wanted to use Control R. And then I get to see where I want to store this. So this is important. If you save it in this workbook, it's going to make you save it as an extension with XLSXM, I think, something of that nature. That is a macro enabled workbook, meaning you have code within that workbook. If you're just using it for yourself and you don't want to be saving all these, and it just makes things easier, save it to your personal macro workbook. It's actually saved to your documents. So in any Excel file that opens up, you can immediately apply that macro to it. So I'm going to go ahead and save this in my personal macro workbook. I hit OK, and now it's actually recording. You can see it down here. It says it's currently recording. So it's waiting for you to start taking the steps. So the first two steps I want to do is actually I want to highlight these two. I'm going to go ahead and delete them. Then I want to click into a cell, and I wanted to insert some kind of table. So it's going to grab all my information with the headers. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. From here, right, I would like to insert a pivot table. Where would I like it to go? well, I want it to go to a new worksheet. I'm not going to go into the specific, all the details of the pivot table. You can watch some of the other sessions, but you can see I can grab various aspects and show the values. Let's say we wanted this to be currency, and this is the way we want the format to be. At this point, we just go ahead and stop that macro. So now that you've recorded that macro, you can actually head up to the developer ribbon and click on Visual Basic. I'm going to drag this over here. And these are the actual steps that it took making all those changes. So you can see this is the actual Visual Basic code that generated all those specific steps that you took. So from here, I'm looking at my first one. Let's go to the one that we created, which is module 2 called test. You can see that it has all the various steps again on what we took. You can start adding your own VB script in here. You could do lots of things. I'm not going to go into that. It's much more detailed, but this is the steps that it took. So let's say it's next month, right? It's time to run that report. You go ahead and run the report. You go ahead and export it. You open it up, and now you have to go through and build that table again, but thankfully, right, you recorded a macro. So to get there, we can head up to the developer ribbon, head over to macros, choose the macro name and go ahead and run that. Or if you remember, what we also did is give it a shortcut. So we're going to hit Control Shift and R. And what you'll notice is in 2 seconds, not even a nanosecond, right? It did all those steps. It took all the rows, it grabbed them in, it changed the formatting, so on and so forth. So this is a really good example of what macros can do. Again, this is very, very basic. You could start writing your own VB functions and start doing some really cool things. But that's it. Feel free to reach out to me if you want to know any other information. You guys have a great day. Be safe out there, and talk to you soon.